You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, ladies? Blessings to you. How y'all doing? It is your girl, your spiritual sister in knowledge. Go by the name of Mocha. I definitely want to thank all of my mods for always being on deck. I appreciate y'all. Definitely want to thank all of my members for still being supportive of my channel, and definitely my subscribers. Thank y'all for still rocking with me, still being a part of my journey. And to all my sisters out there that are struggling with spiritual healing, I hope that the content that I have been pretty much distributing to you has given you some sense of purpose and spiritual knowledge. So like I said, I don't have a channel where I'm always giving you the tea, but I'm always giving you the tea as in the truth, okay? Because over here we're trying to be spiritually woke, not spiritually broke. So if y'all didn't catch out my if y'all didn't catch my last content where I talked about wrong one, where I talked about why married men become the curse of the succubus spirited woman, make sure y'all check that out. I basically break down, how succubus women, how it takes a toll on their spiritual and emotional and mental toll when they get involved with these married men. We're seeing what Portia is going through. We're seeing, what Arion, a lot of these succubus, these side chicks, appetizers, coleslaw, whatever you want to call them. We're seeing how karma is definitely coming back to bite them. And of course, getting involved with married men, you bring a curse upon yourself, a curse upon your wealth, and a curse upon your health, okay? So let's get into it, y'all. This was requested by one of my dedicated subscribers by the name of Bougie Gal, and I told her I would come through and do this for her. So nevertheless, y'all make sure y'all go ahead and hit that like button. Y'all already know I'm going to deliver. I'm going to come correct. So ain't no doubt about that. So why worshiping husbands can take a toll on your spiritual and mental well-being. Now let me make this very clear. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with the woman who loves her husband. A wife is supposed to love her husband. You're supposed to adore them and treasure them. And as well, they should adore and treasure us. It should never be one-sided, in which you are, putting him up here, but he's putting you down there. And or vice versa, he's putting you up here and you putting him down there. It should never be to where one companion is always speaking highly of one, while the other is never speaking much of anything about the other. You both supposed to have that even exchange of love and sincerity when it comes to having a marriage. And although, like I said, this is very important to display your love and to always display how much you honor and treasure one another. There's a difference between honoring, and let me put it this way, there's a difference between loving your companion and then you're worshiping them. And to break this down, to make it very clear, what has happened is that so many women have gotten caught up in the idea of marriage that they have become obsessed with the concept of marriage than the reality of marriage. They have become more obsessed with the idea of having a husband, than than actually having a husband. So what has happened to a lot of women? A lot of women have become so asphyxiated and infatuated just off of the terms of in the concept of being a wife, and not really understanding the concept of having a marriage. Anybody could be married, but not anybody can have a marriage. Anybody could say they're married, but that don't make you a wife. Anybody could say they're married, but that doesn't make them a husband. A lot of people unfortunately misconstrue the two. Anybody can rush you down to the altar, put a ring on your finger. It does not make him no more genuine than a man who's not going to put a ring on the finger and not trying to rush you down the aisle because that's what you want. So don't get it misinterpreted that because a man is so eager to marry, that he has genuine intentions compared to a man that's taking his time, not trying to rush you down the aisle, not trying to, propose to you right away. It does not make him less authentic or genuine just because he wants to take his time. And I think that's where a lot of women make the worst mistake. I see it all the time. Even when Portia got married, everybody was so happy that Portia got married. But all of us who were spiritually woke and not spiritually broke, we knew that was not a smart move on her behalf or his behalf. Anytime there's a situation in which something is rushed, 9 times out of 10, there is an agenda. Because as the scriptures say, love is patient, love is kind. Love does not have to rush and prove a point to the public or to your family. Love is something that is gradual. And not to say you can't fall in love with somebody, overnight. I believe in that, however, it does not make it authentic just because you're running to the courthouse or you putting together this microwave marriage in which you got all the bridesmaids, all the groomsmen, and you got this huge venue, and that does not make your marriage more solid than somebody who is taking their time, or somebody who decides that, we're just going to go to a courthouse. It's just going to be me and you. I don't want no cameras, no family. It doesn't make it more genuine or more real because you have all these people attending your ceremony and you're out there in the public eye. But one thing I have come to notice, the women who have felt the wives, the married women who have fallen in the depth of worship, are women who have thought so highly of their husbands to where they were willing to risk their own integrity, their health, their self-esteem, their spirit, their image, just so they can preserve a marriage with the husband whom has failed them based off of his actions, off his selfishness, off of his activities and infidelity. Basically, a man who has not respected his vows and have not respected the feelings and emotions and the well-being of his wife. So on my thumbnail, right, I got like 3 different couples just to give you a reference guide, to give you an example of women who have fallen from grace due to the fact that they have put their husbands on a level of idolizing. And I want to talk about idolizing because some of y'all, I don't think some of y'all don't know the difference between idolizing and appreciating. No different when Portia was idolizing Simon, talking about how great of a man he was, how wonderful he was, and how he was such a blessing to her, how he fell in her lap. That's what she said. He fell in her lap. And see, this is where a lot of women set themselves up for failure. When you don't know a man well enough to be put him on a pedestal, and especially even worse, when he's already been known for disrespecting another woman. In my opinion, if you're going to marry or be with the man who has disrespected and embarrassed a woman publicly, that the public knows of and is well known through the public, you need to be very humble. You don't need to be putting them out there and putting them on the pedestal and basically rubbing it in everybody's face how he's such a great husband, especially when we saw how he disrespected his last wife and did not respect his last marriage. That's just nothing to be proud of. And Portia and many women have done it. They know they have gotten somebody's husband dishonorably. Even Ariane, she got with Martell dishonorably. But this is where that is the audacity for me theory comes in at, in which when these men start disrespecting you and degrading you, now you want this empathy and you want this sympathy, and it's like you've already tarnished yourself, not only through the public eye, but most importantly through the eyes of God. So you have to be careful with idolizing, putting your husband, and same thing I tell the men on my channel, the same thing about their wives. Never put your companion so high on a pedestal to where you think they can never fail you. We all are human beings. We are prone to disappoint. I'm a human being. I'm going to disappoint you at some point. You're going to disappoint me. That's just part of human nature. We're not always going to be perfect in how we handle things and how we deal with things. So you have to give your husband room to disappoint you, because when you put him up there high on a pedestal like that, and you have convinced yourself he will never fail you, he will never cheat on you, he will never lie to you, you're the best thing that ever happened to him, so he will never even look at another woman. When you put yourself in this delusional realm of you got it covered, and that'll never be me, and I'll always be the apple of his eye. When you have yourself that highly convinced, and this man turns around and does the exact opposite of everything you never could imagine, what it does is it takes a toll on your mental and your spiritual. And I really want to talk about this situation with Wendy Williams. Everybody done seen the clip going viral. And when I say this woman had totally, you can just tell her spirit is decaying. You can tell her health is declining. And she's nothing like the Wendy Williams we've always known her to be. Wendy Williams was always upbeat on it. And let me tell you something. A lot of people don't like Wendy, but Wendy used to read. Wendy was the queen of reads. Every time she said something was going to happen, it always happened. I used to watch her show Hot Topics. She would call a lot of things out. She would expose couples that tried to hold it down and act like everything was perfect, and sure enough, those couples ended up breaking up. I mean, she was very knowledgeable, and she got a lot of heat in the industry because she exposed a lot of celebrities. And nothing makes celebrities more angry than being exposed. And we bloggers, we know that better than anybody. That's why our channels be getting strikes. Bloggers' channels be getting hit and terminated, because one thing about celebrity or people within the public eye, they hate being exposed, because what they value more than just their money is their image. That's why Kevin Hart was trying to go so hard for Tasha K and sue her, because once Tasha K allowed the assistant, Kevin Hart's former assistant on the show, to expose how much Kevin Hart has gambling issues and he has a sexual addiction because he's constantly cheating on his wife Nico. Kevin Hart lost it, ran straight to the courthouse, didn't do his due diligence, didn't even sue the right person, and he still ended up not being able to cover himself. Celebrities hate to look bad. They want to put on that false perception that everything is perfect and wonderful in their life. So Wendy Williams had gained a lot of haters, so when her health and her marriage and everything started going down, a lot of people was low-key celebrating it and happy for the demise of her marriage, because she always stayed in a lot of people's marriages. She always exposed and exploited, and being a blogger, that is what we do. We tell your business. We expose you. Okay, so she's not doing anything no different than what Jason Lee, than what all of us low-key bloggers are doing. That's what we do. We spill the tea. We tell the business. So for everybody to say she's getting her karma, you can look at that either or, but at the same time, that's what she did for a living. You know, she was a publicist, and spoke on everything within the public. Celebrity gossiper. That she did celebrity gossip. So we've witnessed for years, before Kevin Hunter's infidelity was brought to the surface. Wendy Williams really treasured Kevin. She treasured her husband. You never seen them together a lot, not as much as you have with him and Sharina, but then social media wasn't as popular as it is now. But anyway, Wendy all the way to the end, even when it was brought to her attention that he had been cheating, having an affair, committing adultery with Sharina Hudson, and the pictures was all over social media, because that's just how much he didn't care anymore. And whenever you're married to an incubus, it comes a point when they have no regards, no filter for how they humiliate you. Unfortunately, when they get to that point in which they really want to do what they want to do, they don't care about throwing you up under the bus and making you look bad. And basically that's what had happened. But even then, Wendy was still trying to hold it down. She did address it, which I thought was the correct thing to do, because if you could talk about everybody else's marriage, you sure need to talk about yours, okay? So she did on her show, indeed address what was going on in her and Kevin's marriage. And Wendy was still very biggity and very sure of herself, and showed her ring like, listen, all that, we're good. I know y'all been hearing A, B, C, D, but we're good. She was flashing out ring, put a ring on it. We're good. It is what it is. I know blah, 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 but we're good. So she basically stood her ground and let everybody know, I know y'all hear about what's going on in my marriage, but I'm not going anywhere, and Kevin's not going anywhere either. So it got to a point in which no matter how much she tried to hold it down, the walls were crumbling behind the scenes. And in many cases this happens when you want so badly to keep your marriage together. You don't want to face the embarrassment of your friends knowing. You don't want to face the embarrassment of your family knowing. You don't want to face the embarrassment of your fans, if you have any, or people who admire you from a distance. And most importantly, you don't want your haters, most importantly, the enemies, the people who already been wishing for your downfall, you don't want them knowing behind the scenes that the relationship is crumbling. Like a fortress. It's just crumbling. But after a while, when the spirit of the incubus takes over these husbands, and they don't spare you no mercy, from your friends finding out, your image finding out, and people looking at you sideways. Because it comes a point, Kevin Hunter, like Martell and many of these men, when a dog wants to be broken off his leash, he's going to find a way off his leash. It doesn't matter if you try to tighten the leash. It doesn't matter if you put food in his bowl to keep him from not wanting to leave the leash. If that dog really wants to break free, he wants to break free. And in many cases, because it's the wife who's idolizing the husband, he has so much fallen out of love with her, he doesn't even take that into consideration. He just wants out from the marriage. And I will say this is why you have to be careful with worshiping, with male worshiping, to the point to where you feel like you got it all under control. This man is your husband. He's not going anywhere. He's never going to leave. He's never going to cheat. Or if he does cheat, he's never going to leave. And you become very sure of yourself. You have just really programmed yourself into believing that he will never leave. He will never go anywhere. only for him to leave on a drop of a dime. And the very thing that you was trying to avoid, the very reason you was holding on to this marriage, trying to avoid the embarrassment, trying to avoid the humiliation, he snatched out that marriage like the dog that he is, and gave you the very thing that you was trying to prevent. The embarrassment of your family, your friends, your co-workers, your fans, your haters who been sitting on the side of the bleachers waiting for you to fumble the ball. He gave them everything that you was trying to avoid. And we know family, sometimes your own mama, your own sisters, people be low-key hating on you and your marriage, not even understanding the things that you're going through, not even knowing what you're really dealing with behind closed doors because of that image you presented. But one thing about it, when the dog wants to be broken off the leash, he don't care about what the owner has to go through. Anybody has a dog? I have a dog. Listen, sometimes when I go walk my dog, he's so happy to get out the gate because I don't walk him a whole lot. He'll take off and shoot down the street. He'll run and be all over the place, so I got to run after him. Because once a dog wants to break free and he gets that freedom, he does not care. He ain't care I had to run behind him. He ain't care that I got to worry about a car hitting him. Basically, when these men decide they want out of this perfect image you try to present, they give you no choice but to have to face and walk the hall of shame. So what happens is, this is where the mental and emotional toll, because now everybody's in your business. The haters, the family, those who thought you had it going on. He just when these men pull these stunts like this, it's like leaving you butt ass naked. You know what I mean? It's like he snatched everything off of you. You standing there with no bra, no panties. You just naked for the world to see. It's embarrassing as hell when people see these men just step out on you and do it in a public eye with the next woman. You feel naked, totally defenseless. All of this takes an emotional toll, because now you have to deal with the emotional aspect of the damage. Meanwhile, he's not giving a flying fig because he's too busy in the damn drop top with his young coleslaw on the side of the passenger ride, acting like he's young and he's 22. You know what I mean? He's taking it back to his high school days where he done got that gray hair dyed now. He done got that men's hair dyed at that Beijing, to cover them hairlines, so he could continue to look young for his side of coleslaw. He in a drop top, whipping it, dressing young, even though he know those knees got that check engine light on, showing his ass with a side of mashed potatoes or coleslaw, and everybody knows it. The paparazzi takes pictures of it. Your fans in the street who see him with her, your family, everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. Can you imagine her embarrassment? Listen, it's one thing to break up a divorce in private where only your personal friends and your family know. But when you got the whole world, especially when your job was to exploit celebrities for everything they were going through. So can you only imagine? I don't care how strong you are. As much as people say, you don't need to worry about what other people think about you. F them. Don't worry about what people... You do worry about what people think about you. And to a certain degree, you have to, especially when there's a brand associated to your name. What good is Hot Topics and dragging other people's husbands? And that's what you've always done. And your husband out here, you know what I mean, with the sour coleslaw. Contrary to what many people may not understand, women by nature, we are very, very fragile. When we take in things emotionally, it eats us up like cancer, because we are built by nature to be emotional beings. We are more emotional than men. So when we emotionally take things in, it takes a toll on our health, because it burns your brain to phantom. How did we go from being this? How did it go from this man running me down, courting me, to date me? We get married, have a child together, and now this man has become my enemy. How did it go from having a marriage to him totally disregarding what we built over here and building a new life with his mistress? How did it go from me being loyal and dedicated, from him just walking away and rebuilding a life with someone that has not had to endure half the trials, half the tribulations? Do you understand the mental toll? And guess what? Only women who have been there, who have been there, done that, they can wholeheartedly relate. And for those of you that cannot, that's why I'm doing this content, to let you know that way you are aware of the spiritual and mental damage that can result in you worshiping these husbands and thinking, oh, it'll never be me. Looking down on other women because they're going through their share of problems. They're going through, they share of trials and tribulations or whatever, and you looking down on them because so far your husband seems like such a wonderful man and he never failed you. That and you have a lot of women who think like that. They think it'll never be me. My husband worships me, honey. He'll never cheat on me like Dr. Heavenly. And these are the main women, when in the event they do find out, or if it's brought to their attention that their husband doing something, these are the same women that will jump overboard and will unalive somebody. Because when you make yourself that sure and you find out the opposite, it will drive you insane, totally to the edge. That's why I say you got to give people room to disappoint you, because you will be distraught. We seen Wendy on the show looking nothing like herself. This was the queen of wearing her wigs. She liked to wear her wigs. That was her signature. Wendy basically emotionally and spiritually unraveled. And the fact that, Kevin was not there to ease the embarrassment, to at least, show some type of gratitude of sympathy. It just made it even worse. And Wendy Williams started drinking very heavily. She lost her zest in life. And it was because a lot of this derives from, she put everything into Kevin. Kevin was her everything. She worshipped the ground that man walked on. And no matter how many things he has done to her, she has always placed him on a pedestal. And y'all got to realize God is a jealous God. He does not like us idolizing or making anything more bigger and more important and more valid than him. And we have to be mindful with how we praise these men as kings, when God is the only King of kings. So for all of y'all who be every time y'all see these celebrity women with their husbands and she looks so happy, they're so beautiful together, they're so this, they're so that. Look, when you spiritually woke and not spiritually broke, you have enough spiritual awareness to know that everything is not what it looks like. I don't give no couple goals to nobody, because these are the very couples behind closed doors that we don't see, cussing each other out, slapping each other around, and I've also realized too, a lot of the time couples who do the most publicly are going through a lot privately. We've seen Portia, we've seen Wendy, we've seen a lot of women who kept putting up this united front like everything was fine, and was bragging, and was, constantly putting it in our face. And a lot of that, what I've learned, is to compensate. They need the public approval to compensate for the real struggles behind closed doors. Listen, this ain't just been a struggle. Portia been struggling with Simon, like Wendy Williams been struggling with Kevin, and we've been seeing our girl Mel for the longest still try to put up the happy family image, and the whole time Martell was being a straight incubus, smashing Ariane for years within the marriage. Even after they had beautiful children and just had a beautiful baby, this Coleslaw had her baby practically around the same time. Mel was having sugar mama. So Wendy's well-being, unfortunately, she depended on her husband for that. That is why when he left and when he did what he did, she started going downhill. Her health, her well-being. So many women, they find their identity within their marriage through their husbands. And that is one of the most dangerous things any woman can do. When you look for your identity through your husbands, you should always have your own identity, and most importantly, you need to have your own relationship with God, because these men cannot compensate for every missing link in your life. I don't care how much you love or worship them. Okay? Same thing with, rest in peace to Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston always thought very highly of Bobby Brown. She always placed Bobby Brown on the pedestal. Anybody who's been real fans of Whitney, real fans of Bobby Brown, we've seen how much these two appear to be the dynamic duo. I for one, I had really enjoyed their show, being Bobby Brown. Every once in a while, I watch it, and I thought it was a really good reality show. It didn't get all the hype that it needed, but it was a really good show. A lot of people was dogging these two, saying how they looked cracked out, they was on drugs or whatever. But I didn't really see that. I didn't just see a couple on drugs. I just saw a couple that was struggling to maintain that love they have for one another. It was just so much easier to judge Bobby and Whitney because everybody was aware of their history with drugs and things of that nature. So a lot of people judge them negatively. But if you actually watch the show, you will see there was the ordinary black family. Love to turn up, love to get their drink on, love to eat. From what I saw off the show, her family was not too different from mine. That's what black families do when we get together. We cut up, we have a good time. But because there was this narrative of them being coked out and drugged out, even when they were having fun, it appeared to everybody that they was on some type of substance or they was drunk. And I didn't get that vibe. But opinions vary on that. Whitney was very, very much in love with Bobby Brown, and she worshipped the ground he walked on. She would not let anybody and I understand with that, being a wife, you don't want anybody badgering your husband or saying anything negatively about your husband, but at the same time, you got to be in reality. And yeah, me and my husband have gone through some things. We're still healing. We're not all the way there. Bobby Brown did a lot of disrespectful things to Whitney. Bobby Brown had another child on them during their marriage, during their duration. Bobby was a wild boy. I'm sure he's calmed down a lot now since he's been married to Alicia. But Whitney went through a lot with him. And I will also say he also went through a lot with her. I don't want to be one-sided in a scenario, but Whitney Houston truly adored that man. To the point, she wouldn't even shake another man's hand first until he shook her hand. I can't say if that's right or wrong or whatever, but she really, truly worshipped him. And when the disrespect and the abuse continued to escalate, she finally made the decision to divorce Bobby, because Whitney divorced Bobby. Bobby did not divorce Whitney. So for her, she had reached a breaking point in which, okay, I can no longer keep the charades up. I can no longer preserve this image. I'm miserable. I'm not happy. And she said the final straw was when her and Bobby got in an argument and he literally spit on her. That was the God told me to go melody moment. And she said, mm-mm. And this is what tends to happen. When these men know you adore them to the point to where you have tolerated multiple times of disrespect, the disrespect escalates. Very rarely, if a man sees that you are being loyal, you're just trying to give him a chance to turn his life around, some of them will straighten up and take the hint and get it together. But in most cases, it just makes them more outrageous. She ain't going nowhere. She ain't never going to leave me. I can do what I want to do. I'm going to still hold her. I'm going to still, physically, put the paws on her, whatever. Because I know at the end of the day, she's not going nowhere. I'm all she got. When these men know that you have that idolization for them, you idolizing them, they have no regards for how far they will go to disrespect or humiliate you. And that's what ended up happening. And even though Whitney had divorced him, that woman had never healed. She never healed from the ending of her marriage. Do y'all really believe that once you sign divorce papers, ooh, happy-go-lucky, we could just go on and just go have some 2-for-1 drinks at Chili's and life goes on? There is still that attachment. You got to realize you've been with this person 16-something plus years. There is no, once we sign the papers, it's over. Yeah, the marriage is over, but that bond is still there. Those feelings are still there. That love is still there. Wonder why a lot of these ex-wives and ex-husbands be miserable and stuff like that, because that bond, I've explained to y'all several times, marriage is an anointing. Just because you end it, it does not mean the anointing has diminished. That connection is going to always be there. And Whitney, I strongly believe, a lot of people, rest in peace, a lot of people believe that, even though autopsy discovered there was drugs that was the reason for Whitney's passing. I believe, in addition to the drugs, it's just my personal intake, I believe Whitney died from a broken heart. She died, which made her resort to drug use. This is my opinion. Anything I say in this video is based off of my opinion only, from a spiritual and educational standpoint. Make sure y'all hit that like button. This is my disclaimer. It's just all opinions. I believe she died from a broken heart. She never got past Bobby not being that man she so highly worshipped, praying for him to be. Now, in his mind, he probably was being the best husband. He felt he knew how. But because of the disrespect, because of the toxicity between the both of them, Whitney never got past that marriage failing. Even though the divorce, even though, they went their separate ways and Bobby had moved on at this time and married Alicia, Whitney still never recovered from the loss of that marriage. And what I think she did was, her way of trying to cope was turning to drugs, turning to alcohol. She never got past, in her mind, Bobby failing her. Now, did he fail her or did she fail him? We wasn't there to know all the in and outs, but I'm just speaking what I assume from her mindset is that she never got past Bobby not being the husband that she really wanted him to be for her. And this happens in a lot of cases. A lot of women, even when you think they have moved on, yes, they got the house, yes, they got their cars, yes, the judge rewarded them and granted them everything. That divorce, let me let you ladies know something. Divorce does not automatically make you happiness. And I'm not saying this for you to stay miserable and stay in an unhappy marriage. I'm not saying it in terms of that, to condone staying with somebody that's mistreating you. But don't think that once you divorce, all your problems are going away, all your feelings are going away. Because, in truth be told, divorce is necessary. With Mel and Martell, that was very necessary. Because, listen, if Mel would not have left, Mel would have ended up with Wendy Williams or Whitney Houston. Because Martell was going to continue to keep draining her. If Mel would have been one of those, I'm going to stand by my man no matter what. Do you not know Martell would have put them in bankruptcy? Damn, Mel's home would have went up for bankruptcy. She would have lost so much financially. But most importantly, Mel would have lost a lot spiritually and emotionally. Because let me tell you something. When you love a man that much, not only will you let him rob you of your savings and your checkings, he will rob you of your spiritual bank. He will leave you high and dry spiritually. You will be spiritually bankrupt. No sufficient funds. Insufficient funds. Martell was working on that. But thank God for Melody having the spirit of discernment. Because listen, it was going to continue to get worse. It was bad enough he was stealing Mel's pocketbooks and purses and giving them to Arion, going in the account stealing money. He would have wiped them, because that's just how much the spirit of the succubus had taken over Martell. And when the succubus gets their claws into these married men, they don't care who they take down with them to appease to the succubus. You feel me? Mel used her due diligence and shut down the operation before Martell drained her. Because if you don't shut down the Incubus operation, this is what will happen. You will end up with Wendy Williams or Whitney Houston. Talk about Britney Spears. Same thing. We saw Britney Spears have a public meltdown where she shaved her head, running around looking crazy. And to this day, Britney Spears still has struggled to keep herself together. A lot of videos she's been doing lately, she looks crazy in the face. She's dancing like she's possessed, you know. And I'm a fan of Britney. I really love Britney Spears. I love her music. You can just tell Britney Spears has still lost herself since Kevin Federline really did her in. Some women never recover, and that comes from that idolized worshiping of these husbands. Exodus chapter 20 verse 3 through 6. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in any form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or on the waters below. God is a jealous God. What is idolizing? Idolizing is the worship of someone or something other than God, as it were God. Stop treating these husbands, Portia. Now I'm sure you know now. Stop treating these husbands like they are God. Leviticus chapter 19 verses 4. Do not turn to idols or make metal gods for yourself. I am the Lord your God. You shall make no other gods before me. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. Nothing wrong with loving your husband, appreciating him, valuing him. But what you're not going to do is bow down to them more than you do Jesus, or serve these men more than you do Jesus. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. 1 John chapter 5 verse 21. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. Jonah chapter 2, 8th verse. Those who pay regard to vain idols forsake their hope of steadfast loves. All this idolization. My husband will never cheat on me. My husband is so wonderful. And listen, you got these women that will go hard for these couples. You know how many women was going hard for Portia when she got with Simon, going hard like they just knew. And I mean, the way she got with the man, how y'all really believe that she got herself a wonderful husband? How did y'all believe that? You had these harlot supporters, these Patricia pick-me's, these succubus fangirls who was sitting up there co-signing and got mad with people who would bring it up in the comment section. She took this man from somebody else. This man was married. You had the succubus supporters getting angry with the sisters who are woke, who were saying, I don't celebrate this. I don't condone this. I'm not going to congratulate this. Listen, when you're spiritually woke, you're going to have a lot of enemies. Because people hate when you tell the truth. You feel me? Hit that like button, y'all. I know this is a good sermon today. Anybody who's coming in, hit the likes, hit the likes, hit the likes. Thank you, mods, for being on deck. Appreciate you. Thanks for those who have donated. Appreciate it. Thank you. Britney Spears lost her mind. None of these women, and it's many others that I probably forgot to mention, or maybe you know somebody who totally derailed once their husbands left them, or once they had to divorce their husbands. When you love these men more than you love God, more than you love yourself, you'll take anything off of them. And when they do you in, you totally lose yourself, because all your love, all your hope, all your everything was in them. True story. I used to work at a nursing home as a security guard. And, working in a nursing home, you see all type of things. You have a lot of elderly people that got all kind of sicknesses, mental illnesses, so you see a lot that goes on if you are nursing or whatever. So I remember there was this one particular patient who used to just roam up and down the hall. And they had a helmet on her head. And I asked one nurses why she has to have a helmet, because they say every once in a while she is known to hit her head up against something, And this is one of those extravagant nursing homes, like rich people with bank could put their loved ones there. So for the most part, they were taken care of. So I noticed though, she didn't look as old as the other patients in the facility. She didn't look young, but she didn't look old. And I thought it was kind of weird. And I remember I had to go in her room one time to do something. And she wasn't there. And I don't know if they took her on a trip or something. But in her room, she had a lot of younger pictures of herself. I could tell she was a very beautiful white lady, back in the days. Beautiful, long flowing hair, green eyes, one of those types. Very, very pretty woman. And I just noticed, she had a lot of pictures of her husband. But they weren't together. I seen pictures of her kids and her pets and stuff like that. And I remember just having a conversation with one of the nurses, and I asked about her. And they said, oh, well, yeah, her and her husband, they've been divorced, years ago. Because I'm like, I was wondering, does he ever come to visit her? Because she got so many pictures of him and stuff. And it was like, nah, in fact, she hasn't been married for almost 15, 16 plus years. I was like, what? Well, she sure got a lot of pictures of her husband. I'm thinking most divorcees, they'll keep pictures of their kids and, their grandchildren and their pets. But most divorcees, most women who have been divorced, they don't keep pictures of their husbands, not out in the open anyway. She said, no. She said, let me tell you the backstory on that. She was married to this big time lawyer, physician, whatever. And, they have been married a long time. And what happened was, there was a big old scandal in which she found out he was cheating. He had been committing adultery, and from what her daughter, I guess the patient's daughter would talk to, gave the nurse a background on the situation, and she said basically her mother had lost her mind ever since. When she found out her big time physician, lawyer husband, or whatever he was cheating on her, she literally lost her mind. Her health, her mental psyche, all of that went downhill. And in result of that, because it was continuous, and she never really got the help she really needed from it, what happened was it started taking away some of her brain cells, in which she was no longer able to function as an ordinary person outside of a nursing home. I guess all the embarrassment, all the hurt, all the pain, it took a toll on her mental, to where she ended up losing her mind and ended up in a nursing home. And I would see her just walking around looking lost in the sauce. Listen, worshiping a man that much, it can take a toll on you to where you lose your mind. You don't know yourself. Because again, everything you were, everything you became, you wholeheartedly relied on that through your husband, who is indeed a human being with his own faults, his own flaws, his own sin, his own issues he got. You lived through him. And because he disappointed you, now you cannot function. It's kind of like you hooked on a certain drug. You become codependent on that drug. And when that drug is no longer there for you to use as your comfort, you will start to wither, because now you are suffering from withdrawals. And I think in many cases that's what happens to a lot of these women when they put so much into these men, to where you don't protect yourself emotionally or spiritually. You just turn a blind eye. Well, I know he's doing this thing, but it is what it is. We're making money. We got this beautiful house. We have these children together. I'm just going to turn a side eye. Every time you turn a side eye, or you willing to stay with him because you want to prove a point to everybody, even to the other woman he's disrespecting you for, and all of that. Every time you keep turning a blind eye, when reality finally hits you like a tornado, you are going to mentally lose you. You're going to mentally lose yourself. Because you never wanted to face reality. You kept looking the other way. Wendy Williams, Whitney Houston, Britney Spears, trust and believe, all the red flags was there. Like Ariana, see, all the red flags was there. The day that Martell decides he no longer wants to keep playing and entertaining Ariana, she gonna lose her mind. While she's going around here picking with everybody else, getting into it with everybody else. If Martell was to pull, if Martell was to get another female pregnant or do anything to her that he did to Mel, trust and believe, she would not handle it near as gracefully as Mel is. Because see, Mel has something to fall back on. Ariana does not. Unfortunately. So she will lose her mind quicker. She may try to unalive him, because when you worship these men, you look for them to do everything for you. You look for them to handle everything. You trust them to fix it all. Even knowing their history, even seeing the red flags. A lot of these women know you're not even getting these men the right way. Like Portia, Ariana, how y'all think these men, how y'all really believe that things are not going to come back on y'all because of how you got involved with these men? Know why? Because you got the succubus supporters who be boosting these bras, boost their head up. Oh girl, you got you a keeper. later for what these haters are saying. Simon's a good man. In our movie Waiting to Exhale, he's a good man, Savannah. He's a good man. Remember when he used to play that Savannah and her mama was trying to talk her into staying with the married man? Kenneth. Yeah, his name was Kenneth. Savannah mama was trying to get her daughter in the movie Waiting to Exhale, y'all. She was trying to get her daughter to stay with Kenneth, the married man. This is the type of society we in. We are encouraging women to demote themselves to succubus behavior. That's how sad it is. And the women who back it up, who see nothing wrong with it. Something is wrong with your integrity. Women who are supporting the Portias, who are supporting Sharina Hudson, all these women who up here supporting side chicks, that lets me know a lot about your character. Because anything you support, 9 times out of 10 is because that's what you would do. You support that because you are doing it, and most likely you would. Cause ain't no married woman, ain't no woman that's spiritually woke about to co-sign on some side chick proud to be with an incubus, who was once a part of the time somebody else's incubus, cause he was married prior. Now word is, because a lot of people kept lying, pushing this narrative that Portia's jumping ship because of protecting her assets. Well, come to find out, what I've been hearing on the YouTube streets is that, come to find out, Portia was spending way more money in that marriage than Simon was. And I wouldn't doubt it. Her was spending all her money, thinking as long as we married, I'm going to get back triple in return. Probably thought she was going to triple her investment after putting a lot of her money into that marriage. So that's what the YouTube streets are saying. The YouTube streets are saying that Portia, that supposedly, allegedly, Simon has been running through Portia's money. And how he's been running through it, it could be Portia been spending a lot of money on him, or has she actually given him access to the account where he can go in any way he wants. I'm not sure, but nevertheless, supposedly she saw her money was getting funny. She started noticing she putting all this into him, and her money started looking funny. She was not getting back all of what she was contributing. That is what the YouTube streets are saying, y'all. I don't know for sure. Like I said, I don't keep up with too much stuff of that. But, again, it was only a recipe for disaster. You know, and if you don't get away from these kind of men, you will lose yourself. You will lose yourself. You will lose your spirituality. You know, in other cases, you will lose your bank account. 𝓜𝓸𝓬𝓱𝓪'𝓼 was draining Britney Spears' assets. And from what I heard to this day, she's still obligated having to give him a monthly amount. That's court order to this day. You know, because, you know, he has custody of the children. And I think while they're in college or some states or whatever, you have to pay it up until they're 23 years old or whatever. But anyway, you have to be very mindful. You have to be mindful of putting these men on the pedestal, you know, putting down other women because you know what they have gone through, and you have been able to hide and you know, cover up what you have gone through with your husband. So you looking down on other women because their issues are more public than yours. But just because your issues aren't publicly known, and the women you putting down, theirs is publicly known, you still you still very well need to be very mindful, because it can very well happen to you. If it hasn't happened to you, it is happening to you. Your stuff could come out just like anybody else's. Because I'm telling you something, these side chicks, they ain't sparing no mercy. So while you around here picking and looking down on other women, you better make sure your own front door is swept off. Sweep around your own front door, like these men say. But you have to be very careful overly idolizing these men make sure, for one, you first have self-love. That way, if this man disappoints you or fails you, you can still recover. You can still bounce back. Two, make sure you have your finances in check. Wendy should have had her finances in check and had got her will and all that together while she was in her right mind. I don't know how much of her right mind she got left, but my fear for her is she may end up leaving everything with her son, and I believe because the son has a love for his father and that's going to be the only parent left, I don't trust that the son is not going to look out for his father and give his father Wendy's money. It's like that's her only next of kin. But what I don't trust about her son, because not only that, he has wiped through her savings. He has savings. He has wiped through all of her money. And God forbid something happens to her, she passes away, something like that. I don't believe this young man is not going to wipe through the money, and I don't believe he's not going to look out for his father, which in turn means Kevin gets to live off of Wendy's Williams' money again, and so does his side chick. I just really don't think Wendy has this conducted correctly. I really don't believe her team that's around her has her best interest. She got a bunch of snakes, pythons, wolves in her circle. And nobody's not really there. I think her niece, she's had a couple of, her family is there, but if her will is not handled correctly, their hands are tied. They're not going to be able to handle anything if she hasn't legally gotten everything straightened. We've seen Whitney Houston. She tried to move on from Bobby. She appeared to be like she was in a better place, and the whole time underneath she was crumbling. She was still resorting to using drugs, anything to heal from that pain, anything to heal from that hurt of not having that marriage from that man that she did adore, which was Bobby Brown. And I believe Bobby Brown knows that too, because when I notice when Bobby speaks of Whitney, he really doesn't say anything bad about her. He only says positive things about her from what I was able to gather, unless you guys heard different. But he knows how much that woman worshipped him and loved him. And I think part of his guilt, his conscience still has to live with that. Then on top of that, they lost a daughter, So I'm sure, even though, because men don't express their feelings a lot. You get what I'm saying? So I'm sure he feels some type of guilt, knowing how much Whitney loved him. And by the time he realized what he needed to do to straighten out, it was already done. Same thing with Britney Spears and any of these other women. You got to be mindful putting these men on a pedestal. The whole bottom line is, it's not, I don't recommend any woman, I don't care how great her life is going, I don't care if, she hasn't had any close calls. You can never really be sure of these men. They're human beings at the end of the day. They don't wake up saying today's going to be the day I'm going to lose my marriage, I'm going to find me a coleslaw. People don't have to look for trouble. You get what I'm saying? You can always encounter it. That's just part of living in the world and being of the world. So you can never be too sure of your man or your companion and figure that you're invincible from ever having experienced certain things that other women have had to experience. A lot of women who have done it, they have had to walk that hall of shame and face that embarrassment and deal with the humiliation, and it's so as the saying goes, you get them how you lose them. You can't sit up here and figure, you get these men all kind of way, and it don't come back and backfire on you, of course, if you're being a succubus. But there never should be a limit to how much you love a person. I don't want anybody taking this concept wrong, like you need to have restrictions on how much you love your man, your husband. But you have to be in reality and not be oblivious to all the red flags, and especially when you seen what another woman has gone through prior. When these men start getting beside themselves and they're no longer showing you affection, they're no longer being supportive, they're criticizing everything that you do, they're looking for anything to have a reason to argue so they can leave the house. You have to look at all of these things. You can't just, turn a blind eye because you so in love or you so badly want to protect your image that you'll overlook and keep giving him a pass. Because next thing you notice, now it done escalated from him not answering the phone calls, leaving the house all time of night. Now he's on social media, flossing and flexing with his succubus, not having no regards for your family, for people who support you. And it can be very embarrassing. Women that have allowed so much mental, emotional, and physical abuse. Because, listen, I don't want us to negate the fact that physical abuse isn't important. Yes, I'm against domestic violence. I'm against a man putting his hands on a woman. I'm against a woman putting her hands on a man. But what about the invisible scars that you can't see? What about that emotional? What about that mental? That's hiding behind the Prada bags. That's hiding behind the MAC makeup. That's hiding behind the hair bundles and all the beauty attributes of whatever else that you're concealing behind it. That is the most important, because mentally people can't see what you're going through to diagnose it. So it's easy to overlook the mental and emotional distress that a woman is under. You get what I'm saying? So it's nothing to play with. It's nothing to take lightly. When you take all type of disrespect and mental and emotional abuse, because you're going to be abused more than just a man putting his hands on you. A man not taking care of you is abuse. A man depriving you of income is abuse. A man taking money out the household and putting it towards another woman is abuse. There's so many ways to be abused other than somebody blackening your eye and breaking your rib cages in, where you have to go to the hospital. It's that mental abuse that will take you down, that will wither on your health. These women, they're, like I said, they're just an example. I'm not just picking on them just because. But these are a prime example. When you don't get out of these unhealthy, unholy marriages, when you tolerate all type of mental and emotional abuse, men calling you names, telling you fat, you're not attractive, you don't satisfy me enough, all of this, it starts to eat you alive like cancer. Even though the doctor's not diagnosing it and saying, oh, your health has everything to do with your bad marriage. Listen, bad marriages take a toll on your health. I'm going to repeat that again. A bad, unhealthy, toxic marriage can indeed, in fact, take a toll on your health and your spiritual wealth. It's hard for you to have a connection with God. It's hard for you to have a healthy relationship with people in general when you're so damn miserable with your husband. That's probably why Wendy was so mean. And that's probably why Wendy was deflecting and talking about everybody else and their marriages and what they was going through, because she was really in an unhealthy, unhappy place herself in her marriage. And I could be pushing a goalpost with this one, but I'm going to say this one as well, because I know a lot of y'all Beehive fans out here, but I strongly believe that Beyonce is very miserable with Jay-Z. I believe she's more miserable with him more than we could ever imagine. But the problem is when you are in the spotlight and you have gotten your fans and your followers used to you holding up this image that everything is always perfect. You win at everything. You're successful. You have it all together. It's harder and more challenging to leave these type of marriages. But I really believe that Beyonce is just hell-bent miserable with you. You got to remember, she got with him really, really young, even though they keep changing these dates, changing her birth date, especially with everything surrounding Diddy. All of these old, accusations that are being used against Diddy for dealing with underage females. I believe the majority of the men in that industry was dealing with women underage. I do believe that Jay-Z was dealing with Beyonce when she was 15, 16. I do not believe she was, that might be a little young, but put it this way, I don't think she was 18. I'll say that, to be fair, and I'm going to say alleged. I believe he was dealing with her very young. I don't think she was a woman when he dealt with her, and I gave him a big advantage, being that he was a star. And Jay-Z, I mean, what young woman would not, even though he has camel lips, what young girl would not, get with a dude of that status? You know what I mean? Being that he was so popular and well known and famous, and she was young, just getting in the game. She wasn't as famous as she is now, so he used that to his advantage, like R. Kelly, like Puff Daddy. That's just my assumption, and I believe the marriage has taken its toll. I believe now that she's been married to him this long, she's gotten to learn the real Sean Carter versus Jay-Z. Jay-Z the rapper, Jay-Z the millionaire that any woman of status would love to be on the arms of. I believe she's gotten to learn Sean Carter, and as he's gotten older, you can tell a lot has changed, and I just believe they're putting on a united front. And I think all the male worshipping she has done with Jay-Z, I think at this point she's very tired and weary, but because she's so used to being successful, Beyonce does not like to lose. Beyonce does not like to fail. Keep in mind, she's a Virgo. Virgos are perfectionists. Virgos do not like to lose anything. Okay, so that's the curse of the zodiac, being a Virgo. Okay, they sore losers. So she's going to continue to hold on until she can't hold on anymore. Hopefully no other scandals or anything come out about Jay-Z, because he's been dodging the radar, and I don't think he's no more innocent than R. Kelly. I don't think he's no more innocent than P. Diddy. He just been more smooth. Jay-Z is a Sagittarius, and Sagittarius men are very smooth. They don't do their dirt out in the open, and they don't do it as sloppy and negligent as other men normally do things. But she's another one I believe is taking a spiritual and mental toll, which is why she keeps grabbing at different things. She's doing all these tours. Then she's went from R&B genre, now she's doing country genre. I believe she's trying to really find herself outside of that marriage. That's why she won't sit down, she won't settle, she just won't stay home and be a mother. I believe she's miserable with Jay-Z. I don't think she likes being around him a lot. I think that's the reason why she's constantly grabbing at different things, going on tours, anything. I believe she just leans on her music and her fans to give her some type of joy, because I don't think the joy is coming from Jay-Z. I think everything she's tried with him has been a flop. She's had all his children. I think everything she tried to keep the marriage alive is just not there, and she's been giving subliminal shots through her music, through her lyrics, letting you know how upset and how miserable and depressed she's been with him. You just got to be woke. You got to be able to read in between the lines. You can tell or whatever. But sooner than later, she has to realize, you can keep running to your music, running on tours, running to your fans. But if that marriage is unholy and if it's unhealthy, because they did marry, through the eyes of God. But if it's unhealthy, it's going to take a toll on her. And doesn't matter how many tours, what all other projects and ventures she goes into, she's not going to really be fulfilled or satisfied. If you're married to an incubus, a man who has not truly repented and restored his soul and restored his relationship with God, a lot of his old demons and his old dirt is going to follow the marriage. Is going to contaminate the marriage. A lot of these men come to you with all kind of dirt, and they don't clear their path with God, and what ends up happening is it's the wife, it's the woman and the children who get affected by it. That's why a lot of these succubuses, they're not understanding these married men are bringing all of their wrongdoings and all of their ill wills into the next relationship with you. It's not going to be successful. And we know, like I said, Jay-Z has other children, Blue Ivy and Rummy and Sir, those are not his only children. He has had other children, okay, that he's not claiming because he's paying the parents off. I've done my research. I looked into this. I know people who know people. And when you have a daddy that's a millionaire, and he breaks you off some bread, you'll keep your mouth closed, you know. You just talk to him on the low and keep it clean cut, to keep the publicity and keep everything out the way. He does have another daughter that's older than Blue Ivy, but we'll save that conversation for another time. And when she filed that paternity suit, we didn't hear nothing else about it, because I'm sure if she was not the daughter, they would have been glad to put that out there. They would have been glad to clear Jay-Z name. We didn't hear nothing about it, and that girl look every split image like him, but I'll save that for another day. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up, y'all. I want y'all to hit that like button. I want us to really understand nothing is wrong with loving your husbands and being supportive, but do not put these men on the pedestal like they're bigger than God. They can never fail you. You can't live without them. You've made your whole world, your whole life revolve around them. Now that once they leave you, or once the marriage, crumbles, you crumble, because your identity and the love you have for yourself has been for your love for them. Don't only find love in how a man feels about you. Find love in how you feel about yourself. Find love in how God honors you. Don't look for love in man, because truth is, a lot of these men don't even have love for themselves. Just because a man has nice cars, nice shoes, successful, you have men that are millionaires and they still don't love themselves. Don't think because a man materialistically is well off that he has love for himself. Some of these men have mommy issues, and have childhood issues, and there's not enough love or sex you can give a man who does not feel whole within himself. But we're going to talk about that another time too. We're going to talk about men with mommy issues. I want to talk about men like Martell and men like DMX, rest in peace to him, who unfortunately mistreat women due to the fact they did not have healthy, wholesome spiritual relationships with their mother. Because despite what you don't want to believe, a mother is a man's first love. And if he does not have a wholesome relationship with his mother, every woman behind that is going to fail and suffer. So anyway, y'all, we will talk more about it another time. Please hit the likes. I'd appreciate it. Also, in my community tab, if you want to bless me with my small business, even if it's $1 donation, I left my Cash App on my community tab, or you can see it on this thumbnail that's in the YouTube. So if any of you ladies are willing to bless my small business, this is separate from my channel, and you want to donate $1, $2, that would be very awesome. I got another business venture that I'm starting on outside of my t-shirt and custom cups business. It's another venture that I'm starting on that's going to be very effective for the community. I'm branching and going into a different area in which this is going to be effective for the community as a whole, more than just selling cups. That's my side gig, and t-shirt selling products, but I'm actually going to be spiritually assisting and mentoring a lot of the black men and troubled, I'll say troubled individuals, because I'm not just dealing with a specific color of people. It's going to be people of all races, of all gender. I'm going to be going into a different spiritual venture in which I'm going to be assisting and leading people into spiritual well-being. So for those of you who want to tithe towards that, I would appreciate it. Even if it's $1, $2, I am very, very grateful for that. And those who cannot, I totally get it. Just continue to be a supporter of Mocha's Ladies Lounge and hit that like button, and I would gladly appreciate it. Until next time, y'all be blessed.